Every police officer has stories. Some are funny, some are confronting, some you'll never read in a headline. Roger Mayer's had a long career in the Northern Territory and New South Wales Police Force, and he's got a few stories to tell. Tall tales and true, real Australian police stories. And yes, sometimes there are quiet shifts. They just don't make the podcasts. Or maybe some will.
Police, stop or I'll send the dog.
BKG, any dog on channel?
Dog 11 on channel, go.
Dog 11, a 10:15 Bear Street, Smithville, re-break and enter in progress.
Dog 11, copy, 5 minutes. Dog 11, off at the scene now. Persons decamping, releasing the dog.
This podcast contains discussions about real policing experiences, crime, prison, violence, and adult themes. Some episodes include coarse language and may not be suitable for listeners under 18. Stories shared on this podcast come from policing experiences in both the Northern Territory and New South Wales, including time spent working in the dog squad. Some stories involve Indigenous Australians due to the nature of policing work in the Northern Territory. These stories are shared from personal experience and are not intended to stereotype or disrespect any individual or community. Some names and identifying details have been changed to protect privacy. Listener discretion is advised. Hi, and welcome to Tall Tales and True podcast. My name is Deb. Today we are talking to Roger Mayer. Roger grew up in Canberra. In 1978, he joined the Northern Territory Police and then spent 32 years in the New South Wales Police, the last 25 years as a police dog handler. He's now an author and has written a book called Tall Tales and True that this podcast is based off. In these episodes, we will explore some of the stories. Roger, welcome. Would you like to tell us a bit about yourself?
Thanks, Deb. Yes, my name is Roger Hedley Mayer, M-A-Y-E-R. I was born in Canberra. I'm now 69 years of age, married with 3 daughters.
And where did you grow up?
I was born and bred in Narrabundah in Canberra, a suburb of Canberra, and a friend told me once that they used to say it was a social blunder to come from Narrabundah. And I spent the first 21 years of my life living in Canberra.
What was Narrabundah like?
Narrabundah was a lower socio-economic suburb, I'd say. Now it's very prosperous. At the time, there was a lot of housing commission houses there, but they were different in those days. You had to have a job and pay rent. We lived down in the prefabs originally, which was the prefabs were post-war constructed fibro houses with a tin roof, mostly 2-bedroom, but some 3-bedroom, with a nice yard. All the people that lived there, most of them were immigrants. My parents were immigrants from the UK, and we had neighbours that were from all over the world, Europeans.
What sort of a kid were you, Roger? What were you like at school?
I was very active. I was terrible at school, and I listened to a lot of people podcasts, and it seems to be the same theme of people like me, that we weren't very academic. We weren't stupid, but we weren't very smart in school, and I spent a lot of time being told off for talking and being disruptive. I was always looking out the window. I loved my football. I played Aussie rules and rugby league, and I did judo, and I just wanted to be outside running around. Sport day was the best day at school, when we had sport on a Wednesday afternoon. But my marks from all the marks at school were poor, put it that way.
Do you think you were always headed for policing? Or?
Yeah, good question. My father had been in the police. He was in the Commonwealth Police, which was the forerunner to the Australian Federal Police today. And then when they wanted to transfer him to Sydney, he pulled the pin on that, resigned, and went to work at Parliament House. I'd always had a desire to get in the police, but you needed a higher school certificate, and I left school in fourth form, which is year 10, when I turned 16 to start work. So I had to wait a couple of years to get in the police.
Right. Okay. Your dad was obviously a huge influence on you growing up, and
he was a fearsome fellow. I was quite frightened of him when I was young because he was very violent. And I look back now, my father had a lot of trauma, and we didn't understand what that was, and we do now. We all understand that. And I used to get a flogging nearly every day. I get a good flogging. I probably deserved it. Some I probably didn't. But he was a great influence because he was mad on physical fitness. We'd get up and run every morning. We had to do 5 or 6 Ks with him before breakfast. In the summer, we'd run to the pool, swim 10 laps, run home. We were only allowed to wear a pair of shorts and a pair of runners, no socks, and run there, run home. And in the winter, we ran in Canberra in the winter with a T-shirt and shorts. It was always frosty. Once we got running, it was all right. And then when we came home, breakfast consisted of powdered skim milk mixed with 3 raw eggs. That was our breakfast milk that I could have cornflakes or something with, and wheat germ and lecithin and things like that in it.
Oh, sounds tasty.
Yeah.
I know my dad used to sneak a raw egg into our milkshakes for breakfast too. So
Beautiful. Nothing wrong with that.
I never would have drank it if I knew. And what about your mum, Rog?
My mother was she was very good. She was a very soft sort of person in a lot of ways, but emotionally soft, but she was quite hard in other ways too. But she was the local go-to fix-it person in the neighbourhood for people to come and get all their forms signed and filled out. When we lived down in Narrabundah, we were the only ones with a telephone because my dad was in the cops, and we had a phone in the house, and it used to cost 2p for a phone call. And there was a public phone on the corner, but most people would come and give us the 2p and use the phone. And she was very friendly with all the neighbours. She was a nice person, very hard on me, and there was no sympathy in our house. It was, if I got injured, it was won't hurt when it's better, or jump up and rub it better. Didn't matter how bad the injury was. It wouldn't hurt when it's better. I hated that.
I think I got told, I'll give you something to cry about.
If you're crying, I got that. I'll give you something to cry about. Yeah, what are you crying for?
Okay. So what about policing? Tell us how you got into that.
Well, before I got into policing, excuse me, I was working in Canberra. The teacher I had at the time saw something in me. I don't know why, and I went for an interview at an insurance company. His wife worked for this insurance company, and he said they're looking for someone as a clerk to start there and become an inspector, which sounded pretty flash. So I went for an interview before I did my school certificate, and the only prerequisite was that I had to pass maths and English. And I'd passed English, but maths I'd never passed in my life. So my mother got me a tutor, and they tutored me, and I got the second lowest level in maths, but I passed. It's the only time I ever passed a maths exam. And so I finished in we did the school certificate in the October, and a few days later in November I started work for an insurance company as a clerk, and I loved it. I didn't think I would, because I was no good at doing a trade. I was going to be no good as a plumber or a mechanic or carpenter. I was pretty hopeless. But I found something that I was good at, and that was talking to people and answering the phone, doing the telephone consults, people coming into the counter paying, putting in claims. And within 3 years, at 19, I was promoted to inspector, which was a big deal. At 19, I was given a company car, albeit an old Holden sedan, a $30 a month expense account.
Whoa.
And this was fire and general insurance. That was looking after households and businesses and whatnot. And I was given a number of clients to look after, including doctors and lawyers who were our agents, and they would get a contact for you, and you would go and see them and fix out their insurance if somebody had a claim. So I would travel to Young to look after the clients down there. We had the big flour mill down there. There was a client. I'd go up to Cooma and the Snowy Mountains and look after clients there. And once a week I'd go to Goulburn. So I did a lot of driving, and I had all the freedom in the world as a 19 and then 20-year-old, 21. And when I was 21, I was in 1976. I went to night school 3 nights a week to get my HSC, and you had to do 4 subjects, but we did 3 at school, and I couldn't think of anything, so I did English, geography and biology, and the 4th subject you did was called general studies on the day, and all you had to do was get your name right and a couple of other things.
Did you pass?
And I passed. I didn't matriculate because there wasn't enough subjects, but I got an HSC, high school certificate. So in Canberra, it was pretty hard during the winter, 3 nights a week, going after working all day, going and study. And we sat the exam in the hall with all the year 6 year students, sixth form students, they were back then, year 12, who'd been going for 2 years. And we sat there and did the exams, and I was happy to pass, and that got me an application to get in the police.
Oh, very good. Very good. So tell us about the application process. Did it take a long time?
Well, I originally put in for the ACT Police, and it was the Australian, because I lived in Canberra, and I thought, well, I'll try out for them. And I went for, you have to sit an exam. And I walked in and I met the recruiting people, and they were really keen to have me because I'd done martial arts and I was quite fit. And they said, yeah, good. So I sat down and I opened this exam and my heart sunk. I looked, and the maths questions were something that I couldn't even dream of attempting.
Brain exploded.
I still remember, and my brain started exploding. And at this exam day, there was a number of people there, and there was a fella next to me who was a really smarmy bloke, and he was a solicitor. He'd done law. He's a lawyer, and he said to me, "Oh, this is so easy. This is this is easy." I looked at it, and the question was, you have a oval with a diameter of 300 metres. This is roughly what it was, and in the middle is a cricket pitch, and it's 11 metres by 1 metre. How much turf do you need to cover that using pi r squared?
Oh no!
And without the cricket pitch, and I just looked at it and went, "Oh, I have no idea what they're talking about." So I failed, and then I went back to see the recruiting blokes after, and they said, "Oh, mate," he said, "you're close, but you're not close enough. Go away and do some study." And I said, "What about that solicitor?" They said, we're getting rid of him. He's an idiot. He passed, but he's an idiot. So I went away and I studied a little bit, and I came back. And in the interim, I'd sent off, this is a true story. I've never told anyone this. It's a true story. There was a television show called Boney on, Boney, and he was supposed to be a half Aboriginal policeman in Northern Territory or Western Queensland. And it was played by an Australian English fella, and they did a remake of it with one of the Dado boys.
Oh.
But before that was this other fella, and I just went, "Oh, this is for me." The Northern Territory, Western Queensland, out there tracking.
That was your inspiration.
That was my inspiration to join. So I sent an application off. Didn't know they were recruiting to the Northern Territory Police, Commissioner of Police, Northern Territory. I wish to join. And they sent me an application form, which I filled in. In the meantime, so that's going on at the same time, I got the ACT Police. And the ACT Police hadn't been taken over by the Federal Police yet.
I was going to ask that.
No, it hadn't been taken over. This is in 1977. So I then went, 78, early 78. I passed the exam, and they sent me for a medical. And you go to the police medical officer in Civic in Canberra. And I went in, and they stripped down their underwear. They love you to strip down your underwear so they can see what's going on. And I I'd had a putty plat operation on my shoulder. I'd been trained in Japan in 1978 doing judo, and I'd been injured. And as a result, in 1976, I was in Japan training, got injured. 1977, I got it operated on. So I had a letter from the specialist, Dr. Kitchener, saying my shoulder was fine. That was the only thing that was going to worry me. I stepped up to do the medical, and Dr. Vance, I still remember the doctor there, he said, do the eye test, and I failed. My left eye, I had 6.5 vision instead of 6.6. And he goes, the commissioner states you have to have uncorrected 6.6 vision in each eye. You failed.
Wow.
And I was gobsmacked. So I went to an ophthalmologist, and he said that my left eyeball had grown a little bit and it put out of focus. And it would never get any worse. It was true. And I was heartbroken. And I went home. I had a bit of a blue with the doctor and said, look, you've had your career. This is, what I want to do. He goes, I can't do anything about it. But the funny thing is, once you get in, you might need glasses the next day. You can have glasses the next day. We lost a lot of good people because they couldn't pass the eye test. New South Wales is the same. So I got home. A few days later, I got a letter from the Northern Territory Police to say I was having an interview in Canberra. He was a really nice guy too. Inspector he goes around Australia interviewing applicants all over Australia. They recruit from all over. Out of 1,000 people, they're going to take 50. So I went for this interview, and he was a tough little inspector that I ended up knowing when I joined the cops. And there was an ACT sergeant there as well. And I was 21. I'm sitting there. He's asking me these questions, and I'm answering the questions best I can. And then he said to me, you're working out on an Aboriginal settlement, and an Aboriginal comes into town and he steals an apple. What are you going to do about it? I said to him, well, mind you, I'm 21. I said, well, he might know that's the right thing to do. So I will tell him that's not the right thing to do, and I'll let him go. If he comes back into town and does it again, I'd arrest him. And this sergeant from the ACT police said, what gives you the right to do that? And he was being very smarmy. And the old NT inspector looked at him and said, in fact, he's quite correct. That's what he should do. And I went, oh. So and then I was having to go for a medical with them. And they didn't care about me having 6.5 vision. I had the letter from my specialist saying my shoulder was fine, and I passed the medical. Next thing, I got a travel warrant to travel to the Northern Territory.
Wow. So it was the ACT police that was worried about your vision?
Yeah, the ACT, with strict policy of 6.6. Northern Territory went, well, we can live with that. And they were looking for other qualities as well. Mm-hmm. The funny thing with that is that 40 years later, my eyesight has improved. I used to have to wear glasses at night to correct my vision. I went for a test a couple of years ago. The optometrist said, your eye is corrected now. I'll take that off the RTA. You don't have to wear glasses to drive anymore. At 69, so I was at 68.
Because your eyeballs are shrinking
now. Well, I don't need glasses.
Wow. That's pretty cool.
That was amazing. And after all those years. But the funny thing was that the same thing when I went to join the New South Wales Police. But I'll tell you about how I cheated on the eye test.
Oh, I don't know if we should talk about that.
Of course we can.
Rog. We hope you've enjoyed episode 1 of Tall Tales and True with Roger Mayer. Today, we've found out a little bit more about his background and how he got into the police force. Next week, we're going to delve a bit deeper, and he's going to tell us all about his history of training in the martial arts, amongst other things. Stay tuned for episode 2. If you enjoyed the episode, make sure you follow, like, and subscribe to the show so you don't miss what's coming next. We'd love it if you could leave us a review. It really helps more than you think. got a story, question, or something you want us to unpack on the show, send it through. We read them all. And come hang out with us on social media, Instagram and Facebook. Just search for us and say hi. If you like this episode, share it with your friends, your family, your colleagues, and even your dog. Especially your dog. They've probably heard worse podcasts anyway. See you next time.
This episode is proudly sponsored by Five Islands Pest Solutions, servicing the Illawarra and Shoalhaven. If you've got spiders, cockroaches, rodents, or any other unwanted guests, Five Islands Pest Solutions has you covered. You can find them on Facebook or Instagram, or just search Five Islands Pest Solutions online. Give them a call on 0424 158 828. Because Roger spent years dealing with pests on the streets, now our sponsors deal with the ones in your house.